Hello everyone, I am Kamis and today I shall discuss what the Act of 1786. But before discussing about it in detail, I would like to let you know one thing. Since in last video I have discussed about 1784 Act, that is what Pitt's India Act. But the question arises here, what exactly had happened in 2 years that this act had to be brought into the pictures. So, going into the what scenario of this question, I'll have I'll just keep some questions and then we'll begin to discuss about this topic. What exactly is about this? So, my first question is that since British Parliament began to enact various law to control the East India Company and to strengthen the British power in India. But initially they were doing what with the through the East India Company, but after Crown Act they took their power in their hand directly and began to rule India. So now we are discussing, since we as we have been discussing that it's a Company Act. So Company Act basically starts from 1773 regulating act to, and it continued till 1850 8 till the revolt of 1857. Okay. So now as for the topic today, as per the today topic is concerned, that is Act of 1786. What exactly is this? What was the need that this act had to be brought this act had to be passed by the British Parliament? Basically, this was the Act 1786, which was a kind of power demanded by a particular person, and that person was Lord Cornwallis. So here we will discuss this act in the context of what Lord Cornwallis exactly demanded from the British Parliament and why British Parliament granted him such a power. That we will come to know today. Okay. So as for this act is concerned, Act of 1786. I'll just tell one thing about this. What was the need? The need of this act was only for the Lord Cornwallis. Since Lord Cornwallis was being sent to India, he was being sent to India as a post of Governor General of Bengal. But before coming to India, he demanded two things from the British government. I would go to India, but provided if I would be given overriding power on the executive councils first, and second, I will lead as a chief commander-in-chief for the army. Why did he demand so? And why did British Parliament agree? So we need to discuss. So it was a two demand. Basically, this act came into picture because of two demands of Mr. Lord Cornwallis. I will discuss when I will be discussing history, then I will let you know in detail why the Lord, why the Sir. These titles are basically were given to this British person who used to come India, like Sir John Simons, William Jones, and Lord this, Lord that. What are the reason behind of it that they were given a title like this, Lord or Sir? Okay. So here we'll have to keep our the discussion to the in the context of this act only. Okay. So there were two demand of Lord Cornwallis. One was that he said that I would have such a power that I would override the power of the executive council. So overriding power, he demanded first overriding power on the decision of executive councils. As I have already discussed, what is the executive councils? What are the executive councils? As I discussed, executive councils was established by the 1773 Regulating Act. These were the body who used to assist the Governor General of Bengal to work in a very efficient manner. But since their number were 4, there were 4 executive councils. So sometimes they used to dominate over the Governor General of Bengal. So Governor General of Bengal did not have as much power as he wanted to have. So what happened during the Lord Cornwallis? Lord Cornwallis, when he was to depart from England for India, he basically begged the 2 demand. He asked for the 2 demand that I would not work in such a condition as the earlier Governor General of Bengal worked. So I should be given such a power. So he was given a power. What? Overriding power. What does it mean? Overriding power means if any decision were taken by the executive councils. Here's example बताते हैं. Let me tell you once again. If any decisions were taken by the executive councils, then if Governor Generals of Bengal, if Lord Cornwallis did not agree or did not find any consensus with that law, then he had such a power that he could change the decision. He could override the power of executive council. So this first power was given to Lord Cornwallis. And second, what he was made? He was in charge. He was made in charge of Commander in Chief of Army. Commander in Chief of Army. Chief. What does it mean? So he was given a double role. He used to play. He basically played a double role. In one way, he was playing the role of Commander in Chief, like the President of India today, Ajit. And second, he was also like a overriding power of the executive councils. Somehow we can say in the context of President of India today that he is Commander-in-Chief, but he does not have overriding power over executive councils, because President of India cannot override the decision of executive councils in exceptional cases. Even because according to Article 74 Clause 1, the President of India has does not have such a power that he can override the decision of executive council, except the veto power that he applies for in some instances. Okay. So now we'll come to so he was given a double power, a kind of 2 powers. In one way, he was a commander-in-chief, so he could reinvent the idea for the army to do better for the army. He could reform the army. So this was a situation when there was a war which was going between Anglo and Mysore, and again it was a time when Maratha and Anglo war was also being happening. So during this tenure, British began to think that we need to strengthen the military powers, because Britishers were knowing very well that if we do not strengthen the British power, if we do not make strong the military power, we could not dominate, we could not rule in India. So we cannot strengthen our power. So in one way, they had to strengthen their power through military, by strengthening the military, and other way he had to control over the large sector of area, large areas. So for this reason, when he became the commander-in-chief, he began to mobilize the army, he began to reform the army, and this was the reason that later he after that whatever the Governor General came into Bengal, they started to strengthen their power. This was the result that the subsidiary alliance had happened between the so many kingdom, and that subsidiary alliance helped British government to strengthen their power, not the king of India, not the kings of India. So these were 2 basically reasons. So it was somehow a kind of strengthening the British power and centralizing more centralization of power. It was a kind of ingredient which made more centralization of power. More centralization of power we could see in this context. So as per the question which is concerned, that has been asked a question in UPSC examination, and apart from these 2 factors, there are no any more important factors that could be discussed here. But inference can be can be drawn from here. Okay, one question basically came in UPSC examination. The question was, analyze the impact of, what is the question? Analyze the impact of what? Impact of Act 7086. This is a question of mains, UPSC mains general. Okay, so analyze the impact of Act 7086 on British military, on British military control in India. Control in India. What does this question mean? Before going to before discussing the answer of this question, I'll have to decode this question. What the question is basically asking. Analyze the impact of Act of 1786. Means how this Act 1786 helped the British government to strengthen their military power and control in India. It means the Act of 1786 somehow more responsible for strengthening the military power in India first, and since then began to control over the last territory of India gradually. It could be considered in two examples. One, subsidiary lines that had happened later, and permanent settlement, that is also a result of controlling their power in India, extending their power in India. So I'll have to answer this question in the following manner. So how answer of this question could be given? Let us discuss here. The answer may be according to the need of the questions. What question is basically asking? Question is asking the impact of 1786. So what impact we could see? Impact of 1786. Impact of 1786. We could see, or we can see in two ways. First is that since the Governor General of Bengal did not have as much power as the Lord Cornwallis did have. So once he got the power, he began to enhance their controlling area via various methods. At the same time, the war was going between the Maratha had happened between Maratha and Anglo, and later Mysore and Anglo. So this was the reason that compelled the British government to strengthen their military alliance. Once they strengthened their military alliance, they had now a greater chance to win the battles, and that had happened. Second point is that once they fought battle and won the battle, first thing, so this helped to garner more and more area, to collect to mix more, to assimilate more and more area in British provinces first, or under the company. And second was that since Lord Cornwallis in 1790s, basically in 1793, since he came to know that we have strengthened our military lines, we have won the war, and we have begun to rule India. So he established a permanent settlement through which a jamindari system could be established in India, and many jamindaris, the jamindari of many jamindars were overtaken by the British government once they were unable to pay their taxes. So this was a kind of auction was done in large scale in the Bengal presidencies, and Bengal presidency was enhanced, the territory was enhanced. So and later what they found, they began to start to establish a relation with the king through the subsidiary alliances, and that subsidiary alliances lessen the power of led to the decline of the power of king. King did not have control over their power, control over the army. They did not have any like any court or kachahari. So these all things were overtaken by the British, or you can say East India Company. So these factors somehow led to the control in India and their military alliance. Since their military alliance, their military was strengthening day by day, because in one way king did not have power. In one way, kings, or you can say the kings, your princely king or princess, princely state did not have power to what to rule against the deeds that were signed by what signed under what we call what subsidiary lines. In other way, the British power were enhanced, and apart from that, we can also see that no, through the subsidiary alliances, British government began to interfere in the local affairs, local issues, and of what ruling kings. There were area where under the what control of British government, king could not do anything without the permission of what British government. So these were the measures, these were the ideas. Somehow we can see the strength in the British government. So the impact of 1786 could be understood in this way, that it was nothing but a demand of what Lord Cornwallis, because he was willing to come India on the condition of these two, what that he should be given the extra power, not overriding power, and second he should be given in charge over commander in chief, so that he could reform the army. So this has nothing a lot to discuss here, and later now we will discuss about the Charter Act. So today I would say that in this video I think there was not too much stuff to be discussed, but in the coming videos, in the coming session, that will start from Charter Act 1793 and so on, where we will discuss a lot. So this question could be answered by giving 3 and 4 point, because it has only 3 and 4 point. Impact of Act 1786, it helped in military strengthening power, later permanent settlements, and then later on subsidiary alliances, and we can also say how military began to work to enhance the British power. So that is all of the questions. Okay. So Lord Cornwallis somehow responsible for what the military license in India, some or less you can say. So this is all about this video. We'll see you in the next video. Meanwhile, take care. Bye bye.